y'all, Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Recollections May Vary, a royal recap. I know you've all been waiting. The countdown has been on. It's finally here. Maureen Callahan with her Meghan Markle verdict. It's so exciting. But before we go there, I have to tell you, I thought of you this week because I won an auction. I won an Elvis auction. It's not. I found on the movie Elvis with Austin Butler in it. I hope you love it. I love it.
I
I
saw it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, good. I bought the knife they use during the wedding scene with Elvis and Priscilla so that one day I can use it at my wedding. So I can
Oh
say I
my
had
God.
Elvis and Priscilla's wedding knife.
Kinsey, I love that. But I beg you to perhaps reconsider using it at your own wedding. I don't think it would augur well.
I
Elvis and
also thought
Priscilla
about
did
that.
not end well.
I also thought about that. I was like, well, they are my dream team. I don't know if necessarily everything ended up the way I want it to. So that's a very good point. Maybe Austin Butler will get happily ever after married, and that will change some of the, juju on the
Juju.
knife. Yeah. All right. Well, I've seen some of your Megan commentary, and honestly, I laughed so hard I cried. Uh,
Oh,
was was your was it 8 hours of your life basically that you'll never get back, or was there anything redeeming in that pile of you know what?
it was roughly 90 minutes of my life that I will never get back because I
Nice,
did not watch all eight.
nice.
Couldn't. I took your advice. You were the one who said your intel was watch episodes one, two, and eight. So that's exactly what I did. And for me, episode two was so like, Kinsey, you know I'm Sussex now.
Yeah, I know you. I know. We have
That
to.
that said everything. Like, what a colossal, narcissistic, semi-sadistic piece of work she is. You invite somebody not only into your fake home to do your fake cooking show and call her a friend. This does not seem to be a dear friend. And you correct her on camera about your surname that is news to everybody. You're the expert. You probably know whether it's even applicable to her as an actual surname. And then on top of that, okay, again, Mindy Kaling, never forget, actress, producer, friend in order of importance as she is Chiron, is a single mother by choice. She has
Yeah.
three children. And Megan goes on to try to cover her tracks after hurling this insult her way by saying, well, it's just so important that we all share the same last name. Like I share my last name with my children, and that's so meaningful. And it's like, well, is Mindy sharing her last name with her children any less meaningful? I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, from what I understand, technically she could use the Sussex surname. I mean, very loosely could because the examples were given is Prince William and Prince Harry being, William Wales and Harry Wales when they were in the service. Additionally, the York daughters. But I mean, every example that anyone gives when fighting for this is giving the example of somebody that was born into this world. Princess Diana was never Diana Wales, ever.
True.
Catherine was never Catherine Cambridge, ever. So it does feel like Harry and Meghan breaking protocol yet again because they just don't like the rules and setting up their own rules. And you're right. None of us had heard that she was Meghan Sussex. We did hear around the end of last year that Archie and Lily were going to be referred to as Archie and Lily Sussex. And it was like, okay. But I don't think any of us just assumed, and Meghan would have been angry if we had, that she was going to be Meghan Sussex because she said on Oprah Winfrey 4 years ago, almost to the day, and said that the royal family almost stole her name. Like she lost this, she lost that. I almost lost my name. So we were under the impression that feminist Meghan was proud to keep her last name Markle.
Great point. And, really just to cut to the chase, none of us care
Exactly.
what she's
Amen.
calling herself. We care only in as much as it just goes to the rank hypocrisy of her unending enterprise to be beloved and famous, which is that she has said this family didn't care if she lived or died.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the suicidal ideations when she was pregnant and nobody was allowing her to seek mental help. Cough, cough. Yet she then clings to the very names that would one would think be a reminder of such terrible trauma.
That's the truth. Let's talk about this post from Meghan where she is celebrating her second season. And now we're understanding that, according to insiders talking to multiple UK outlets, this was to distract from all of the negative press. This post was to distract from, I mean, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter. I think I even saw Vogue saying she's
Your
completely.
local penny saver.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They, according to sources, this was a strategy by Meghan and Netflix to distract from that and change the narrative to Meghan got a second season. But according to Deadline, it was two seasons that were always greenlit, likely out of desperation to release something when there would be product available. In a Daily Mail article, and that I could. This is how I envisioned it, so it made sense to me. It was the same as when they released the Harry and Meghan series originally into two parts, or when they released The Crown into two parts. You get the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then you get the last few episodes at a later date. Did you get that sense that Meghan was like so desperately trying to do a victory lap when clearly she had failed yet again in the public eye?
I actually interpret it as Meghan is so delusional. She has convinced herself that this is a victory and a victory lap worth taking. And despite all the quote unquote haters, she got season 2 from Netflix. Now, this is my theory. Much like you were saying, The Crown broke up one season into two. Do you remember The Sopranos when it was their final season? They shot it all at once. It was season 7. I think they called it A and B. But really, what that was a way to avoid having to pay the actors their built-in mega raises for the next season. So it was just corporate bookkeeping. And I think that's what's going on here. I think Netflix shot the whole thing in one go. That seems to be the reporting. They can now have time to try to edit or reshoot or make it a little bit more, make Meghan a little bit more palatable, which I'm sorry is a Sisyphean task. She is unlikable. I think she should just lean in to being a bitch. Just lean
Yeah.
in.
Amen. I feel the same way. Now, when you say that, because yes, I'm reading back to back. We know that the show is already shot, which to me, the headline shouldn't be Meghan got a second season. The headline should be they made the mistake of shooting it so soon before they could get any real feedback. And now it's going to be the same recycled garbage that we saw a few days ago. But when it comes to this quote unquote second season, I felt like the fact that they released the information so soon about it coming out and the fact that it already had been shot reflected that Netflix did not want to draw out this contract at all anymore. We know that this year the contract comes up. So it felt like a rush to get it all done so that Netflix realistically wouldn't have to go back to the negotiating table if she was at all inconvenienced and had to record any bit more than what her contractual obligations were. Do you get the feeling that this was hurried up? Because I mean, it took her 5 years to do this. Well, yeah, I mean, she's had this Netflix contract for 5 years now.
I know it's really remarkable, and this is what they came up with.
Yeah.
In watching the show, the bits I could stomach it because it really was, as I've said, I love a good bad watch. I love to watch really good pulpy bad stuff. I love to watch stuff that kind of knows it's bad and is like telegraphing that to you. And the disconnect here between the product she thinks she's putting out and the actual product itself, it's like a yawning, it's like the Red Sea parting. That's how wide this chasm is. I just don't see what Netflix gets out of renewing this deal. We know all reports have Ari Emanuel at WME icing her out, dumping her. She's now like with the B team, the C team at WME. She threw yet another fit, apparently, about plans for her future. I'd love to know when the podcast is coming out. I read that the podcast then had been like bumped up to this spring, which seems inconceivable to me because, Kinsey, here's the thing. I thought while watching this show She had so much time to workshop her patter, what she was going to say. She had a lot of time to think about the guests, the quote unquote friends she was going to have on, and her dynamics with them, her interpersonal relationships, and none of it, none of it, like the best she could come up with was walking out to her beehive, half dressed in the beekeeper's uniform, uh, saying things like busy bees. This is it, the round table in Dorothy Parker, this is not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is so painfully true. Yeah, I wonder because I said to somebody, I felt like what a stronger docu-series would have been would the behind the scenes watching her build her next podcast. And somebody was like, it's too inside baseball. And I said, at least that way I'd get some sort of gl glimpse of a work ethic, but organizing fruit on a tray, uh, it looks very silly and like a waste of time and resources, not to mention, like her dad said, $90 worth of fruit. I had somebody a few minutes ago ask me on air about why her family was going after her again. And I said, and normally I'd be like, oh, that feels yucky. But this time it felt kind of justified because she's rewriting history. And I also felt like she is saying to the world, everyone's invited, come over to my house, look at my lovely friends and family. And her family sitting back going, we're not invited. Why are you trying to make it like you're Miss Homemaker when you don't talk to half the people you grew up with?
Exactly. So the fundamental premise of her show is fraudulent, right? I'm
Yeah.
going to show you how to make a happy home, a warm, loving environment, despite severing ties with nearly every member of my family of origin, save my mother, and successfully severing my husband's ties from his entire family of origin. And I'm going to make sure my children bear this royal name, but they will know nothing of their unique family history. They will know nothing of their relatives. They will have no relationships with them. I find it quite sick. I find it sick. And I think this is why people are really recoiling from this project in particular. It feels like a giant lie, and that Meghan is so invested in showing us how perfect she is.
Mm-hmm.
So, for a cooking show, there's not a single mistake made. There's not a single, when you look at her, like with that, whatever pasta dish she was trying to make in the Le Creuset pan, and everything's white, and the pan is white, and there's not even a splatter of nothing. Like everything's immaculate, and it's not real. It's not the way the average American is living. And I don't want to see her out in her chicken coop with her effing picnic table, her miniature picnic table so her chickens can eat their slop off a table. So that, and she literally brings them out. I mean, I'm sure you saw this, Kinsey,
Yeah.
like the big semicircle of ice that was filled with organic veggies.
And you're just sitting there thinking they literally ran out of fire when they were trying to bring the Palisades fire down. And Megan's got
Oh,
enough.
water. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, they ran out of
Great
water
point.
to take out the Palisades fire, but Megan's got enough water to ice giant chicken baths, chicken treats. That's so crazy. That is I can't.
Her chickens eat better than the majority of Americans.
Yes, it was just so everything looked so wasteful to me. And I just thought, oh, who can do this? I will sit there and stare at a tiny box of strawberries for 30 minutes trying to figure out, which box is best, which is going to stretch me through 2 weeks or whatever. And Meghan Markle's got like 6 months worth of strawberries on her table. Um, they talk to me about this post by Bethany Frankel because it made me kind of sit back and think. Bethany Frankel, who remember after Oprah was one of the first people, except you were number one, but Bethany was one of the first public figures to stop and go, this doesn't, I'm not buying this about Meghan's claims. And
Mhm.
then almost immediately jumped back on to say, I was asked to remove my negative post about Meghan Markle. I assumed it was Gayle King that reached out to her about it, but we also now know that she knows Trevor So
But
would
she does. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so would Trevor have asked her to take? I doubt
I
Trevor would
doubt
ask her
it.
to take it down. But she recently said on Instagram that she, of course, trying to clean up her own front porch. She's like, I only ever comment on their professional ventures. I only ever comment on what they're doing professionally. But scrolling through Instagram, I feel like, and TikTok, she says, I feel like we're now getting to the point where we are bullying Blake Lively and Meghan Markle. And I feel like, first of all, I actually haven't seen much bullying. I feel like people are trying to hold both of these people accountable. Although I don't spend a lot of time on social networks aimlessly. Do you think that that's where this is coming from? People trying to call them out on lying? Or do you think we're bullying two people that don't have a very good reputations? These are not considered nice people at the moment.
I think, Kinsey, that game recognizes game, and that Bethany Frankel, who made her career, her name as being a professional bully on The Real Housewives of New York City, is recognizing two other professional bullies. By
Yeah.
all accounts, Blake Lively has a history of behaving very badly. She is not well liked among her peer group. Same thing with Meghan. We know there are reports in the palace going back to her days before she even married Harry as having the temerity to bully his staff.
Mhm.
So I don't take what she says seriously. I think somebody got to Bethany Frankel and said, if you want to have certain relationships or certain business ventures continue to fly, dial it back.
Mm. Yes, because I have seen her be critical of both of the women before specifically. I mean, she talked about being invited to Blake Lively's um this or It Ends With Us movie premiere and how there was a weird energy there. And then oh, so I know you have these contacts, and now all of a sudden you're saying that there's bullying. That feels that feels a
Seriously,
little.
Kinsey, like Blake Lively is as far as everything, the evidence is coming out, and Justin Baldoni's team is showing their receipts. I don't understand why she would take up for somebody who in Blake Lively seems to be on a mission to destroy this man's career.
Yeah.
Make it clear that he can never work in Hollywood again. He can never direct another film. He can never book another acting gig. Meghan Markle is bully number one on the call sheet. And that's why this show isn't landing. Nobody believes that Meghan Markle wants to open her doors. I mean, episode one. Can we talk about episode one for a moment? Her great
The
friend
help,
Daniel,
the
the
hired
makeup
help.
artist,
Yeah.
Uncle Daniel, who she didn't know a thing about.
Yeah.
I forgot I wanted to bring down, so I had guests over this weekend, and when I was shopping for snacks, what did I see but peanut butter filled pretzels, which is
Yes.
new to me. I had never been exposed to this before with Love Megan.
Right.
So I bought them as kind of a gag, but they remained unopened. And I think, Kinsey, my critical mistake was not following Megan's advice to open that bag, find yet another plastic bag, decant those pretzels into said new plastic bag, find some sort of label that I could write in calligraphy, and then tie a bow, sorry, a knot, which
Yes.
he then helpfully told us to not ever tie a knot without finishing it with a bow.
Yes. Yes. These are all must have pieces of information that I don't know how I went almost 40 years without. Now that I have it, I feel complete as a human being. Yeah, no,
Don't you? Yeah.
the pretzel thing is just is wildly hilarious. Yeah, sorry to kick it back to this though, but I do think it's important to say, I think part of the reason that we don't like Blake Lively and Meghan Markle is that they weaponize these sensitive, culturally relevant topics, whether it be race or
Mhm.
whether it be Me Too. It felt like Blake Lively was kicking it back to Me Too with the Justin Baldoni allegations. And like you said, he could never work again. Especially Ryan Reynolds is incredibly intimidating. Ryan Reynolds has a lot of money and it has his hands everywhere. And with Ryan Reynolds going after him, it really does kick everything up a notch. But with Megan, it's race. And then she because somebody asked me yesterday that's followed me for years, why is everybody so mean to Meghan? She's just trying to make money. And I said, well, because she made the last few years of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip's lives a living hell, accused an entire institution basically of racism, then tried to deny it, ran in the opposite direction. Prince Harry said that we made that up, even though there is footage of it that they tried to have taken down. They had it yanked off of CBS, a CBS's streaming service. The in the next few days after it initially aired, they didn't want it out there. It's not convenient to find, by the way, unless you like search the web for people that shouldn't have uploaded it, that uploaded it. And then Prince Harry doesn't address it in Spare. They don't really address it in the Netflix series. You're, I mean, it's throwing a bomb and then trying to pretend like, oh, I didn't do that. No, no, I didn't do it. And I think people are fed up with people that weaponize, culturally some of these really important topics.
I think that is such a smart observation. I think you're 100% right. Just to circle back to Harry's sort of dismissal of the idea that he and Meghan had ever implied the royal family was racist. It was either that interview he did with Tom Bradby or Anderson Cooper, in which he blamed the media
Yeah.
for saying that they said the royals were racist. Excuse me, sir, kindly F off. Okay. And I think that this is the problem. Like, America there's been so much division sown in this country over things exactly like you're saying, race, culture wars, Me Too. What is an accusation that is a career-ending one, and what is an accusation that really should just be considered as an honest mistake? These people are weaponizing things to their own benefit. And I think people are really wise to what's going on, and they know a hypocrite when they see one. They know a phony when they see one. Ask me not to weep for Blake Lively, whose husband is well on his way to becoming a billionaire, or Meghan Markle, whose husband just inherited, I believe, another 40 million from the Queen Mother's estate. Have a sense of proportion. Most people can't even afford to buy a dozen eggs.
Mm-hmm. That is just that.
Disgusting.
It's so true. Yeah, it has been 4 years since the Oprah Winfrey interview. And, Megan's dad says in this, the Daily Mail article, that Megan is so fake. He was like, you could just tell everything she says is so fake. She's so desperate to stay in the limelight and be perfect. I'm paraphrasing, but he said she tries so hard to be perfect. I know that these are two different scenarios. But if you watch Megan's Oprah Winfrey interview, where she's sitting there talking to her one on one, and you watch Megan's reality TV show, I feel like the real Megan is that Oprah Winfrey interview sit down, because there's a lack of hesitation in everything she says. We've heard about the Bachelor producer that sits on her shoulder or sits in her brain and works her through what she says from the Cut magazine. The Megan we saw during the Oprah Winfrey interview, to me, was authentic and raw and real mad and bitter and vengeful. And then the girl we see in the kitchen, what a crock. I mean, she is totally on and hyper aware of all the microphones and all the cameras.
So, it's interesting with the Oprah interview because Tina Brown had this great, in her book, The Palace Papers, I believe it
Mhm.
was. She had this great comparison between Meghan's appearance and demeanor in the Oprah interview. And she said she thought she had looked again at Diana's Panorama interview with Martin Bashir because
Ooh.
she was wearing the kohl eyeliner, raccoon eyes, right? Very dark. And she had the head pitched downward with the eyes up, the doe eyes. And like, I somehow became a victim of this institution that wants to destroy me. So I can't say I think that was the authentic Meghan, because I truly think that Meghan does not know who she is.
Yeah.
I think there's fundamentally no there there.
Oh,
That's
100%.
why I think people are so put off by her, because to me, she comes across like a replicant in Blade Runner. Like, she studied what human beings do and how they talk and relate to each other. But when it comes to actually being human, she can't do it. And henceforth, we get this incredibly uncomfortable exchange with Mindy Kaling, where she's reprimanding her for not kissing her ass enough as a royal. It was wild to watch.
It,
I couldn't believe it.
that is it's very true. Now, Prince Harry was in the last 15 seconds of episode 8. How, don't you agree that there will be a lot of people that are only watching because they want to see a glimpse of Prince Harry? What is the strategy there? Is he the carrot they're dangling for all 8 episodes?
My theory is that literally and figuratively, Harry is being pushed out of the frame.
Oof.
Get out of my frame. I am the star. She is the Norma Desmond of the royal family, and she's going to have the spotlight. And it kind of gives credence to that report that she was shopping a divorce memoir.
That's what I thought too. I said this doesn't make it look any better for
Mm-mm.
he's barely, and he was by himself over the weekend at a charity event for Santa Barbara firefighters. And I thought, you're in the middle of a media blitz for your brand new show and your brand new brand, and you don't even show up on your husband's arm at this charity event for firefighters. Before I let you go, what advice would you give Meghan Markle? You're one of the smartest girls I know. What
Thanks.
advice would you give her?
Don't change a thing.
You are so bad.
I mean, Kinsey, we're out of a job if she changes a thing.
True. That's a very
No,
good.
but I say it because I think she's fundamentally incapable of change, and I do consider her, as I've said before, our greatest living performance artist. She's the only one who doesn't know it.
Okay, well, now that I still have 4 minutes with you, I'm going to run through this last question.
Cool.
There's a moment where Megan's arranging flowers and she, grabs this fake trash, or she makes a trash can basically and starts throwing scraps in there. And then she says that as she's doing this, she's talking about what a clean freak she is, to the point where Lily, her daughter, has made up a song called Clean as You Go. And Megan starts singing it for us upon that
That's not
little.
original, by the way.
Yeah, I know
A
exactly.
lot of mothers do that with their kid. Clean as you go.
Exactly. Well, talk to me about we're seeing a lot more of Lily now that Megan's trying to sell us the As Ever brand. Do you think that this might become an issue and create problems with Prince Harry because other royal watchers that have been close to Harry in the past are royal commentators and reporters who were close to Harry are like, this is not going to fly with Harry.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a cause of the rift. But before I answer that, can I just ask you, because I did not see this episode, when you say she made a trash can,
Oh, she's just like she's I think she's just like she's like organizing a trash. She's so bothered by the stuff around her that she's like gotta clean it up as she's doing it.
oh, she didn't like make an artisanal trash
No,
can.
no, no.
Okay, thank you. I wouldn't have put it past her in terms of inanities. I think it's a really interesting question because in the run up to this launch to the streaming date, none too subtly, we are seeing images of the children, albeit the backs of their heads or them shot with a long lens from very far away. And at that point, it's just like, why even bother? Don't
Mhm,
even bother showing your children.
mhm.
And I think it's quite smart not to monetize them. But I think this was probably going to be another, again, you can't have it both ways. You can't say the media is so intrusive that we have to shield our children. You'll never see their faces. But watch my new Netflix show and buy all the shit I'm selling when it goes in the Netflix store in like there's 2 malls it's going in, one in LA, and I think the King of Prussia Mall is the other one.
Yeah, it's actually Pennsylvania and or Philadelphia and Dallas. Like
Weird markets.
like Meghan Markle has a huge Dallas fan base. Absolutely not. I mean, most of the women from the South see right through that BS. I'd
Mhm.
say you can, yeah. I'm fired up about that. But I also heard her products might not be ready for that. But you've been so gracious with your time today. Thank you so much. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall while you were watching the Meghan Markle show. And I'll take your advice about my Elvis cake cutter very seriously.
But congratulations on winning your piece at auction. That's a huge deal. And as a fellow Elvis fanatic, I am very happy for you. As Megan would say, it's my heart song that you won at auction.
Please. All right, I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, Maureen.
Sounds good, Kinsey. Bye.